What is up, Honey Badger Nation? John Kitchens here, and man, I'm excited. I get to run solo with you guys today. The fellas are actually in strategy as we speak, so they are working through two-day strategy focused on 24 and beyond. Obviously, starting and resetting the vision and looking where to grow this organization and what it's going to take to be able to get there. So super excited, I guess, to see what they come rolling out with. But I'm also excited that I get to jump in here solo with you guys today. So if you're jumping in, any questions, anything that you have, anything you want to dive into, explore, throw it in the comments. And I would be excited and thrilled to dive in and help you guys unpack anything that you're wrestling with at the moment. So a couple thoughts before kind of dive in, give you guys a chance to throw some questions into the comments. Really taking a dive in a little bit of an assessment of where things are at right now. And out on kind of morning walk, one of the things that I've loved picking up, just finishing 75 hard, being able to get those 2 workouts in, and always being able to get that first workout. And so being able to get out on that early morning. Obviously it's getting cold here. As I know, it's cold for a lot of you guys across the country, especially out east. But being able to listen, always listening to something in the morning as the sun's coming up, has been really awesome. It's been really powerful. Just kind of that mindfulness time, kind of recalibrate, reset the day, and so definitely go through some type of mindfulness, and then try to listen to something positive, listen to something, really empowering every morning. And, Ed Milet's typically in the rotation, and he, no different, as he ended up on my playlist this morning, and diving into, he just re-released it, but it was an old recording, something he did about this time of the year back in 2020. Because as he's talking about COVID, he's talking about his gym opening and being able to, work out outside. So it's just kind of interesting to be able to see, but his whole message and what he's talking about, and this is something that I've been pressing with our clients. I've been pressing just in every conversation, and Ed's, sums it up really well, is that this is separation season. And this is the time of the year. This is the season, if you will, the part of the river, whatever concept that you want to use, that this is our opportunity to get multiple steps, create some distance with everybody else. And more importantly, in what Ed's talking about in the podcast, is more importantly the separation from yourself, of who you currently are to where you can, where you're going to, where you want to be. With me, like I said, just finishing 75 hard and kind of continuing it here for a few more days, more next week, as our annual getaway, private exclusive mastermind that we've held for the last 3 years. So leading up to that, but being able to go through the 75 hard and the 75 hard concept, and there's so much to be able to pull from there. And I think it's one of the things that I have seen that is lacking considerably. And that's the level of discipline, the level of commitment, the level of, okay, here's a path, here's a process. I trust it. I'm going to follow it. And then I'm willing to do the work required for that outcome. And I think I'm pretty disciplined as it is, but it's always great refresher to run through certain programs to be able to do, to take it up another level. For me, it was parking and sidelining the drinking for a bit of time, which created some clarity in kind of where things are at, where we're wanting to move things towards. I loved, I'm always consuming something, but for me, very audio. So Audible is in the podcast are always playing, right? Something's always going, but the discipline with 75 Hard is actually physically slowing down and actually physically reading. That was awesome. And I think these are like the little things that add up to help create the separation from who we are to where we want to be. And also the separation within the marketplace. So my challenge to you guys listening in is, what are you doing to separate yourself from everybody else around? Q4 is the hardest quarter of the year because there are the most distractions. You step back and you look at it and you're like, okay, it has the fewest amount of actual work days. It has the most amount of holidays. If you've got kiddos, this is the time, other than summer break, the kiddos are under your care unless you've got support or help to be able to help with the kiddos. And what are you doing to proactively stay out on top of that and manage that to where you can continue to take strides and set the pace of really sprinting, finding that rhythm that you can, hold at a steady pace that's challenging you. Because if you can do that in Q4, it's the separation, but it also gives you that pace as you head into Q1 for the next year. So I really, I know a lot of you guys are doing some reflective stuff. Like I said, the fellows are in strategy for 24 and beyond. We've got GoGo on Expert Mentors tomorrow with her entire organization that I have an opportunity to really present and talk about game plan for 24 and beyond. And, I think the big thing that all of you guys listening, and it's going to be kind of how kicking off that conversation tomorrow, is that it's got to start in your mind. The internal, what are you doing to make you the best version of you? Because I can give you all the tools, the tactics. I mean, you can go to honeybadgernation.com. There's all the resources, the tools, the conversations, the app, the how-tos. But none of that shit matters if you can't get it dialed in on the inside. And it starts with, to me, making a decision, right? Once you have a level of awareness, then you have choices, but then you have to make a decision on who you have to be in order to achieve and live the life that you want to live. It's a choice. You can choose it. It is that simple. You're like, bullshit, John. It can't be. Yes, it comes down to a decision. If you are tired of where you're at and who you are, make the change. Back to Ed, and what Ed talks about is that you got to change the thermostat. Because I promise you, I know a lot of you in this Honey Badger Nation, and a lot of you coasting. A lot of you have your thermostat set really comfortable right now. You have a choice. You can either leave that thermostat where it's at, and you're going to get left behind. But you have a choice. You can change that thermostat. And changing that thermostat comes down to just making a decision and having a certain belief. And with Ed, what Ed talks about, where you change the thermostat, it happens with faith, it happens with intention, and then it happens with association. So the very first gut check is that you got to look in your environment. You got to look at the people that you're associating with, the conversations you're having. Because if anybody that's in your circle is holding you back and they are not who you want to be or where you want to be, good luck. The odds are not going to be stacked in your favor. And I think that's where us as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as visionaries, we have to start with probabilities and stacking the odds in our favor. And that's why we build things around systems. That's why we build things around consistency. That's why we model behaviors of success, because we're just trying to stack the odds in our favor. We're playing probabilities. And from a separation standpoint and the discipline aspect of it, and I'm going to just kind of paraphrase here and kind of give a couple nuggets from what Ed talks about, is like, I don't expect you not to eat the cake. I just expect you not to eat the whole cake. Like 3 bites, 4 bites, instead of all 15 bites of it. His concept of one more, right? Like when you think, I can't take one more hill, like, yeah, you can. One more. That's it. One more. And the other component then becomes, okay, where can I put a little extra effort where I know nobody else is? And I was talking with Brandon Town, who's great friend, long time associate client, been able to work with Brandon for a long time. And I was telling him this morning because Brandon had listened to the podcast, and he was like, yeah, he was all jazzed up about it as well. And I said, do you know there were an afternoon and a morning that allowed us to separate ourselves from any perceived competition in our marketplace in Lawton, Oklahoma. And we did this every week for years. And this is how it separated us. We went full throttle. Guess when? Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings. That was our separation time. Every week, every month, every quarter, every year. Because guess what? Especially real estate agents, most of them take all Friday off. But if they are going to work, they're going to work Friday morning, and then they cruising into the weekend. Not us. That's when we hammer down, Friday afternoons. But the best time for connections, conversations, like separation, was Saturday mornings. That was our money time. And so it was just a great reminder listening to Ed talking about where most people throttle off. That's our opportunity to throttle down. And you just got to create the structure, the rhythm, the cadence. I mean, my Saturdays for years, gym, pick up breakfast and coffee at the office. Kinder and Reedy, myself, a few other agents would come in. But that was our Saturdays for years. And it allowed us to build a foundation and establish to create separation. So before you can really start lining out the game plans, the changes you have to make, you got to look in the mirror, and you got to look deep within, and you got to be like, all right, this ain't working no more. This, I know with certainty that I am not going to be the same human I am today 12 months from now. 12 months from now, 6 months from now. So then the question you have to ask yourself is, okay, well, who do I have to become? What do I have to do? And then you're like, well, shit, John, that's just too much. Okay, well, what can you do within your control? Well, within your control, what you can focus on, number one, is your body. Because that's 85% of your power comes from the physical, what you eat, right? How you sleep, how much water you're drinking. Those things you can control. And, can you move? If you are like blessed enough to be able to get up and walk, can you walk? Can you do the things? Can you pick up a 5-pound dumbbell? Can you go get some 5-pound kettlebells? Can you do those things? If you physically can, then the answer is yes. And that's where you have to start. And you're like, well, what does this have to do with my real estate business? What does it have to do with agent attraction? Everything. Because if you can't lead and coach yourself first, you can't lead and coach another human being. And if you guys are not playing chess and positioning yourself to be the best version of yourself, good luck. Good luck. And the other thing is everybody's watching. You're like, ain't nobody paying attention. Everybody's watching. And especially when you're showing up and you're eating half the cake and you're doing one more and you're working hard Friday afternoons and you're working hard Saturday mornings, they're watching. They're watching. We can talk social media strategies all day. I'll give you guys some insights, some things where I believe I know what's working well for us. That's where you guys want to go. But I just want you guys to get your head around kind of where you need to be and kind of your thought process, as most of you are thinking about the future, getting excited about the future, but the right sequence, right things, right order, and being able to get everything into that right code, if you will, to unlock your potential, unlock your business potential, unlock your relationship potential, unlock your your relationship potential. It's all the same, man. It's all principle driven. And for those of you that have been riding with us for a long time, been a part of the Honey Badger Nation and leading up even to Honey Badger Nation, what we talk about, what we teach is transferable. I mean, it's principles. It applies into anything. And just because of the belief that I have is that, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you have something working well in your business, then it carries over in all the other aspects of life. So cool. If you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts, throw it in. We'll unpack it and, be able to dive deep wherever you guys are at, thinking about separation, thinking about the coming year. And I'll share with you kind of the framework that I think about, that I try to get all of our clients thinking about, is that, first and foremost, where it comes down to is clarity. And clarity is really, I think, understanding where you're at and where you want to go. And ultimately, where you want to go is where it is that you want to go is ultimately your freedom. And understanding that the business you're in is just a vehicle, and that vehicle can be designed and tailored and built however you want it, because that is going to, be the vehicle to get where we want to go, which is freedom, right? That's the number one goal of business, is freedom. And you better be doing something that's moving you closer and not further away each and every day. So freedom, by my definition, just so we're speaking all the same language, freedom through my eyes is two things. One, what is your number? Everybody has a dollar amount, has a freedom financial number, meaning we don't have to dance to trade time for dollars. That's the key, right? So when you stop talking to buyers, stop talking to sellers, how much money do you have coming in that you're not having to, dance for, essentially, right? Dancing bears. If we don't dance, we don't get paid. There is a number. And when you think about what's the life that I want to live, doing what I want, with whomever I want, wherever I want, absolute financial freedom, what is that number? And if you go through and you're really honest with yourself and you do the exercise, that number is a lot less than what you think. So, but everybody has a number. What is that number? How much money do you need coming in each month that you're not trading time for? That's the first part. Second part, perfect day. If you had to live the life, if you had to live day over and over and over, and I know a lot of you guys are doing visionary, vision board stuff. This is all part of it. And just, what is that picture? What does that look like? And if you grasp the concept of the perfect day, it's not, it's really, it's something that you're not going to put yourself in harm's way. You're not going to die. It's really a typical Tuesday, if you will. If it's a typical Tuesday. And from the moment you wake up, consciousness, who you're laying next to, what are the smells? Is it cool? What are the material of the covers when your feet hits the ground? Is the tile, is it hardwood? When you look out the window, what do you see? Do you see the mountains? Are you by water? Are you by the ocean? Are you on the beach? You're in the forest? Like what is it? And you go throughout the day, working out, conversations, lunch, work, all the way to, activities, to dinner, to, the last thought you have. Those are the two most important exercises to help you get really clear on what is freedom. And I promise you, everybody, the thing that to think about from the perfect day scenario, and everybody that's honest that goes through it, everybody works. And so the question is, who are you working with? What problems are you helping people solve? Right? That's the goal of business to get us to freedom. The second thing is to make profit, because that's cash, that's oxygen to be able to grow our business. And so what we're looking for is, a solution to help the people we want to help solve problems. And so in the real estate game, we're helping buyers, sellers, investors, builders solve what problems? We're helping real estate agents, team owners, brokers solve what problems? And so if you were working 2 to 4 hours every day and it was Groundhog Day, who would you work with? And what problems would you help them solve? And I promise you want to solve big problems, because big problems, equal bigger opportunities, bigger money. And you can solve a bunch of small problems, make small money, or you can solve a bunch of big problems and make some big money. And that's the decision that you have to make. So when we know, okay, this is who we're serving, this is who we're working with, this is what the freedom we're trying to get to, then it comes down to really charting the course. But before that, and this is the analogy that I like to use, is that vehicle that you're going to use to get to your freedom is an airplane. And you get to design that airplane to be whatever size airplane you want it to be. It can be a 2-seater. It can be the most massive thing that's ever been in the air. It's up to you, whatever you want it to be. But you have to decide how you want that vehicle to look. And then and this goes back to the beginning of this conversation, and this is your relationship with the mirror. And the question you have to be asking is, me as a pilot, to pilot this aircraft in pursuit of my freedom, my destination, who do I have to become? Who do I have to become to be able to navigate that aircraft along these coordinates, which is my strategy, which is my plan, to navigate the mountains, the storms, the darkness in pursuit of my freedom? And that's just a great way to think about it, and especially as you're thinking about into the future. And what I would challenge everybody, I'm going to challenge GoGo's crew, I'm going to challenge the Expert Mentors audience tomorrow, is that if your vision and your goals aren't big enough, it's not going to force you to take action. They have to be so big that they scare us in a way of, I don't know how in the heck that's going to be possible. Because what our brains are hardwired to do for us is when we form big goals. And for those of you listening in that know me, I like big goals, yet I also want to set things that we can achieve, because I believe that's the momentum, right? The small wins. We're collecting wins because that builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. And that momentum allows us to do whatever the heck it is that we want to do. So I used to be like, let's focus on the wins we can achieve. I mean, the goals we can achieve so we can build wins. And then I had a shift actually not too long ago. And somebody explained it to me this way, and I'm all in on this, is that the reason you want to set massive, big, hairy, audacious goals is because it starts to form artificial constraints in our mind. And if you guys understand some of these concepts, the number one concept to understand is the theory of constraints. And understanding that everything we do has a constraint. And so let me put this into a sales that you guys understand with real estate, is that we have somebody at the closing table, right? So we always start with the end in mind. And my challenge to you guys is that you take it even one step further, is that you're creating promoters, you're creating raving fans. We call them legends, right? We're looking to create legends. And legends are people that are not only advocates for you, but they promote you, meaning they're sending you referrals. They're little lead getters for you. That's what you want. You want an army of lead getters, people that you've helped solve a problem, and now they're out in the street sending people your way so you can help them solve problems. So we've got our raving fans, our legends, our promoters. Well, we got them to the closing table once. Well, what has to happen to get them to the closing table? Well, we got to get them into escrow, right? We got to get them, to ratify a contract. We got to get them into escrow. They're either their home that they're selling is under contract, or they're in contract to purchase one. It's like, okay, well, what has to happen before that? Well, what has to happen before that is we've got to sign a contract that they're agreeing to work with us, either a listing agreement or a buyer representation agreement. Okay, well, what has to happen for them to do that? Well, we have to meet with them and articulate our value, and then they believe we have the best process to help them achieve that. Okay, so we got face-to-face. Well, what do we got to do before face-to-face? Well, we got to set an appointment to get face-to-face. Okay, great. So we set an appointment. Well, what has to happen before that? Well, we have to have a conversation. We have to talk to people. So we're having a conversation. Well, what has to happen before a conversation? We've got to make a dial. We've got to have some effort. So dials. And you're like, okay, well, what's before dials? I would say, well, probably some engagement, right? We got to engage the opportunities we have. And that can be done through making dials. Maybe they're not answering. We leave a voicemail. Well, then we send an email, then we send a DM, then we send a text, right? Engaging anything that leads to a conversation. And then before that is we just need opportunities. We need leads. And you look at this funnel, this start to finish, somewhere in there, it's not working the way you want it to work. There is a constraint. There is a restriction around something in this process. That's the theory of constraints. And so your job is to identify the constraint. What is the real constraint? And it's like, I had a great conversation with my dear friend, Mr. Alex Piak, a couple nights ago, and was given an example about an agent of his. And the feedback was, man, I was only able to talk to 2 people. Like, nobody's answering their phones. He's like, well, how many people did you call? Well, I called 10. He goes, hold on. You called 10 people and had 2 people answer us, 20%. That's outstanding. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, your constraint is you ain't talking to enough people. So is the constraint that nobody's answering their phone? Or is the constraint is that you're not putting in enough effort to try to talk to more people? So the homework was go talk to 1,000 people and then come back. And then we'll know our ratio. So solving the right problem, is that really the problem? Is that the real constraint? And so when you step back and you look at your goals and you go, okay, well, here's the goal. And you got two outcomes. You're either hitting the goal or you're not hitting the goal. If you're hitting the goal, great. Guess what you get to do? You get to increase the goal. And I don't care if you increase it by 10%, 15%, 20%, 50%, whatever. Increase it. Because then if you're not hitting the goal, and this is the artificial constraint, is why we set so big goals. It's like, there's a constraint. I can't get there. Okay, well, what's stopping us from getting there? Where's the real constraint here? And when you're really honest with yourself and you really look at it, you have to start checking the box with effort first. And then if that's like, man, the effort's there, I'm working, I'm strategic, I'm working Friday afternoons, I'm working Saturdays, I'm having a lot of conversations. Okay, well, is it then the conversations you don't know what to say? So is it a skill? Is it a skill issue? And then you get to identify what the real problem is. Okay, so understanding the theory of constraints, we set big, hairy, massive, audacious goals. It forms artificial constraints. And then there we get to solve the right problem. But guess what? When we solve the problem, another constraint happens. And you're like, shit, John, like I don't have enough traffic. And remember, business, it can only be three things: traffic, conversion, fulfillment. And fulfillment is that point where a buyer or a seller or a real estate agent agrees to sign an agreement, a listing, a contract, a buyer representation agreement, an ICP, not ICP, independent contractor agreement. Shit, I got all these things running through my head here. And so whatever agreement, they agree to move forward with you because there's an understanding that you're going to help them solve a particular problem. There's a result that they're paying for, right? That's all people buy. People buy results. And if you're not in the business of providing results, you're not going to be in business very long. Remember that. Your job is to sell results. And you're in the business of providing results. And if you don't get people results, you ain't going to be in business very long. And so I don't care if you're the best world-class marketer. Marketing is about getting and keeping people. Traffic, conversion, fulfillment. And think of fulfillment as getting people the results that they believe that you're going to get for them. And your traffic and your conversions better be talking to the people that are looking for the results that you provide. It's really that simple. So what I challenge all of you guys as you're thinking into the future, as you're thinking, 24 beyond, what are we working towards? What are we working towards? Freedom. What is the next 12 months? What does the next 90 days have to look like in order for me to move closer to my freedom instead of moving further away? And, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of things here, but as it comes down to your business, it's only three things. It's a traffic problem, it's a conversion problem, or it's a fulfillment problem. Y'all honey badgers, y'all pretty good at getting people results. So I would be willing to bet most of your problems are going to be sales and marketing related. So it's that whole thing, man. You gotta marry Sam. You gotta fall in love with Sam. You gotta date Sam. You gotta talk to Sam every day. Sales and marketing, sales and marketing, sales and marketing. You need to wake up, go to bed, conversations, everything's how to get the right traffic and convert that traffic to want to exchange their money with you. Keep it simple. Know where we're going. Know what's required to help the people solve the problems and get the results that they're willing to trade money for. And always go through that. That's why I think, once you have clarity, your strengths. Once I believe you know your vision, where it is you want to go, your freedom, then you're armed with a way of thinking, mental models, the way, how to think in theory of constraints, how to, not allow yourself to fall down the negative rabbit holes, how to stop yourself and create awareness, look at all the choices available, being able to move forward. operating within, a business model. Who are we serving? What platforms? Where are they at? What message is resonating? Then the plan, right? How are we navigating the terrain to get to the destination that we're in pursuit of? And then, the last component is people. Who do we have around us that's allowing us to, navigate this process. And, once we get better people and get the right people, we gain more clarity. Once we gain more clarity, we challenge the vision. Well, as long as we continue to challenge the vision, we get better armed with mental models and the way to think and process things and make decisions faster, thinking more clear. Our business model gets dialed in even more and more and more. Our strategy gets better, and then the people continue to get better. It's a flywheel. And that's where the momentum comes from. And once that bad boy's moving, it's fun. It's fun. So, all right. When you talk about the perfect day, is it aspirational perfect day or just today? We got it from Frank Kern. So what Frank talks about is it's positioned as core identity. It's who you are at your core. So give you another example of the perfect day. Are you having lunch? Yes, I'm having lunch. Great. What are you having? Remember, this is Groundhog Day. What are you having every day? You want to be optimized. It's the best day ever of your life. You are not going to die from it. You can't have the purge, and you can't be scaling Mount Everest. Like, it's just, think of it as a typical Tuesday. And yet it is who you are at your core. And so every time that I go through this and I think through this, because it's changed, it's not a one and done, it's an exercise, right? Anything that's an exercise is meant to do over and over, and it strengthens the more you do it. And when you look at it from the perfect day scenario and you're like, okay, I'm having lunch. Well, who are you having lunch with? What conversations are you having? What are you talking about? And then you get clear on that. And then what starts to happen is that you catch yourself having lunch and you're like, would I eat this on my perfect day? Would I surround myself with these type of people on my perfect day? Would I have these conversations on my perfect day? And the answer is no. Then why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? And it's like, well, are you going to work? Yeah. You're going to work 4 hours. What are you working? Me, I'm working 4 hours. But I know who I'm working with, and I know what problems I'm helping them solve. And that's the same for you, right? If you had to work 2 to 4 hours, that's it. Who would you work with, and what problems would you help them solve? Real estate. If you're not helping other real estate agents, teams, brokerages, then you better be working with somebody that is going to move the cash register needle for you pretty significantly. So it's a different framework of being able to think and really think in context of, okay, this is who I am at my core. This is what I would be doing on my perfect day. And then you just create an awareness. And when you catch yourself in today going through it, you're like, shit, I would never talk about that. Then why are you talking about it? Why are you there? You have an awareness. Now you have a choice. You can do something about it. And that's the power of the perfect day. It really pulls out of you who you are at your core. And it's critical for you to focus on as you're becoming the best version of yourself. Remember, separation season. Not only separation from the perceived competition, but the separation from yourself and who you are and who you have to become to navigate the vehicle, which is your business, that's going to produce the oxygen, which is cash, the profits, to be able to set you up to where you're building, wealth vehicles to where you don't have to trade time for dollars. That's the goal. So, great question. Fantastic. So I know like I said, the guys are in strategy. I know a lot of you are prepping for next year and beyond. Like I said, I've got GoGo's entire organization and opened it up to the Honey Badger Nation. We're opening it up to everybody, and we're going to talk about 24 mindset and planning tomorrow during our expert mentor session. But guys, listening to this call, honeybadgernation.com is your go-to resource. Everything is there. And, you're like, well, what time are these calls? How do I get on these calls? Honeybadgernation.com. It is your go-to resource. Everything is there. So cannot, remind you guys enough of that. And so really, really important. One last thing before I let you guys rock and roll, unless you have any additional questions, please feel free to throw them in, or guys, DM me. I mean, this is what we're here for. DM me. I will throw a little offer out there for you, but I was revisiting some of the things because I was listening to, like I said, I was listening to Ed, and he was talking about separation season. I know his concept of change the thermostat. But Jonah Hill had his therapist on a Netflix special not too long ago, last year. I only watched half of it because there was so much for me. I got what I needed. Will I go back and revisit and probably finish it? Probably. However, I got what I needed at the time. And I think that's a great reminder. And I picked up this lesson from Ryan Holiday about books. Just because you start a book doesn't mean you have to finish it. And that's a mental model concept of just because you spent the money, just because you bought the book doesn't mean you have to finish it. When you get what you need out of it, it's okay to sit it down. Absolutely okay to sit it down. Have I started books, got what I needed, set it down, and go back to revisit it later? Yes, absolutely. I do it all the time. I mean, that's why we have libraries, right? As you're trying to solve problems, theory of constraints, then you're reaching out to resources to help you solve those constraints. You asked me what training programs you should be in. What should you be studying? I don't know. What's the biggest challenge you're trying to solve? I used to do this. I stopped doing it because nobody would answer. And you guys will see it. Maybe some of you are guilty of it. You throw in there, man, I'm looking for a good book recommendation. What do you recommend I read? My question, I don't know. What problem are you trying to solve? Do you know how many people answer that question? The reality, guys, if you're asking for a book, that's just intellectual entertainment. Or attention, whatever you may be wrestling with. But if you're serious and you're asking somebody for a book recommendation, why don't you say, hey, I'm looking for some resources or maybe some book recommendations because I'm really wrestling with XYZ. Do you know any good books that could help me really solve that problem? Here's what I'm really trying to do. Do you think you're going to get a better recommendation from that? Or you're going to get whatever beliefs that somebody bought into around a particular book that may or may not be useful to the situation or to the individual? Come on, guys. Like, level the F up. Level up in every aspect of your life, because I promise you, there's people that are looking to you and depending upon you to become the best version of yourself. Y'all ain't a honey badger if you ain't. And I'm just telling you guys, it ain't about surviving. It's about thriving. And if you want to create separation, you have to become the best version of yourself. And it has to start with the belief in yourself. It has to start with your thinking. It has to start how you're showing up every day and doing the things within your control. And the framework that Stutz gave, that he talks about, when you feel like you can't do anything or you can't do anything else, he goes, that's bullshit. You can always do three things. Always. You can always focus on your body. And this is what I said earlier. 85% of your power comes from your body. And you can do physical. You can pay attention to your diet. You can prioritize sleep. You can make sure you're getting enough water. I'm telling you, like, if you struggle with discipline, I cannot encourage you enough. Like, I'm an Andy Frisella fan. I've had so many clients go through 75 hard. I kind of live a 75 hard life. I mean, there's some things that were slacking that I needed tighten up. And that's why I did it. I did it to tighten up some things. I've been struggling with reading every day, and that's one of the habits that I wanted to instill. And obviously needed to set the drinking on the shelf for a moment. But if you're struggling with that, I can't tell you guys enough, man. 75 Hard program is probably one of the best programs that you can do to get to reset, to recalibrate. And if you guys struggle with any type of addiction or sedation, if you struggle with consumption, drinking, maybe even if it's just casual here and there, just know it takes 30 to 35 days to reset your body from alcohol consumption. So sometimes we just need a reset, and that's okay. Me going through it and pausing, does that mean I'm not going to drink? No, I'm gonna have some good times next week in St. Thomas, right? With our crew. So looking forward to that. But the body is one of the things that we can do that's within our control. And I'm telling you, 75 Hard program will be a really great foundation and jumpstart for you there. The second part is people, the relationships that we have. And the reminder there, guys, is you have to initiate it. The sooner you realize that people are not going to come to you, the sooner you realize ain't nobody coming to save you, and that if you want to improve your relationships with other people, you have to initiate it. You have to. They're not going to come to you. The second you allow entitlement, you allow any type of victim mentality to creep in, you're done. Good luck. And the third relationship is the relationship with yourself. And that's the power of journaling and being able to journal, to decompress, download your thoughts. For me, my process is bookended: AM gratitude, PM wins. So my process is first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I open up my notes and I either type or voice what I'm grateful for in that moment. And then I've got an alarm at 9:45 p.m. goes off every day. 9:45, it says wins. Just open up the notes and I just start jotting down or voicing all of the wins that I had for today. Waking up, being able to go for a walk, being able to do my gratitude practice, being able to read 10 pages of the book that I'm reading, being able to do this with you guys, being able to have my son here, being able to have conversation with Leanne. Like, these are all wins. These are all wins. And what happens is that when you feel defeated and you're getting kicked in the teeth, which happens to us all the time, right? You can jump back in and look at your wins and remind yourself that you're winning. And I promise you, every one of you on this call, you're winning. You're winning every day. You just have to stop and pause and acknowledge it. And that allows you to have a better relationship with yourself. And it goes back to my number one book recommendation. And if you're looking for some good reads to help you from a mindset perspective, the number one book, if you haven't read it, you need to go reread it, is The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan. It is the number one book recommendation from a mental standpoint. Like, my mindset, I need to be on point. I need to understand I'm always in the gap. I'm comparing myself to others. You've got to compare how far you've really come. The Gap in the Game. The other book, Al and I talked about it last week. I've talked about it for the last 90 plus days, is Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil. It's the whole concept around accurate thought. And the only way that you can be the 2% of the population that's not drifting and caught up by fear is through accurate thought and having a set of ways to think. And what I would tell you is that the Napoleon Hill's The Laws of Success would be one to add to the reading list if you have not read it, is to go through and read that as well, The Laws of Success. But if you want to get down to the most important law, and that's the law of accurate thought, is you have to read Outwitting the Devil. So if you're looking for 2 book recommendations that will get your mind in the right place it needs to be to withstand any storm and any season, it's going to be The Gap in the Game. And then it's going to be Outwitting the Devil. From there, what's the biggest constraint? And I can give you recommendation after recommendation after recommendation that I know has served me, has served those that I love and care about the most, and served and really helped, change the lives of thousands of clients that I've had the opportunity to work with over the years. So those are my recommendations. And I appreciate you guys letting me get on my soapbox. I was like, yeah, you boys out. Good. They're going to get it. They're going to get Preacher John today. And I think it's a great reminder, and it's rewarding for me as well to be able to hear, because as you have the opportunity to teach, it just reinforces what you believe, or if you're slacking somewhere, what you have to pick up and carry on. And I'm going to leave you with this one last concept, and it's one that you guys have probably heard us talk about. And I would challenge you as you're looking, because as you lay out the goals, you lay out the vision boards, the things that you want to accomplish moving into the future, the most important thing is, what is the team? Do I have the team around me to allow me to execute and to do the things that I need to do that's required? And I call it your life team. And where you look as part of building that life team, and you look at your main buckets of your wealth, your business, your wealth creating opportunities, your relationships, and your health. Let's just simplify everything into those 3 buckets. I want you to be a plus, minus, and equal in all 3. And this is the concept of the plus, minus, and equal from Frank Shamrock's MMA academies. And when you become a student in his academies, that's the first rule, is that you've got to be a plus, minus, and equal. And a plus is somebody that is going to mentor you, somebody that's going to coach you, somebody that's going to guide you, somebody that's going to lead you. And remember the difference between a mentor and a coach. A coach is somebody that you invest in. A mentor is somebody that you become a student of. And mentors can be from afar. They can be from the future. From the past, the future, maybe if you're paying attention to Elon, but from the past, they could have lived centuries ago, but they can still be a mentor to you. So finding that plus. The minus is somebody that you're going to mentor, lead, coach, whatever, right? And you're like, well, man, I'm brand new into the business. It's like, okay, well, I promise you there's a long line of people that are trying to get their license right now. Like, somebody can be a mentor to my daughter. My daughter is just now starting real estate school. Somebody can guide her and help her best practices, help her through that, right? So you can still be, even if you're brand new, you're a white belt, you can help somebody that's just thinking about getting in. And then the last part is the equal, somebody that's going to be an accountability partner, that's going to, hold you accountable to the things that you want to do. So when you're building out that life team, when you're thinking about, okay, hey, this is the goal, this is the vision, this is where we want to go, this is the strategy, this is how we're going to get there. And then the biggest component, okay, what is the team required for me to be able to execute this plan within, the promises that I can make, keep, in pursuit of the vision that we're after? What does my team have to look like in order for that to be true? And who am I a plus, minus, and equal to in all of the areas of my life? So appreciate you guys. Tune in to Expert Mentors tomorrow. Also got my very, very dear friend, Mr. Blake Sloan, on the Agent to CEO podcast on Thursday. But you guys can go to honeybadgernation.com, find the resources and the links to make sure that you're in tune to tap into all of those great conversations. And we'll see you guys soon. Appreciate you. Thanks.